When Gabriela Silang's husband was assassinated in 1763, the Spanish expected his rebellion to collapse. They thought a woman couldn't possibly hold together a military force. They thought the revolt would end within days. They were catastrophically wrong. Gabriela didn't just continue the fight. She took command. She reorganized the army. She planned military operations. She led troops into battle. And for 4 months, this 32-year-old Filipina became one of Spain's most dangerous enemies in the Philippines. The Spanish didn't dismiss her as a figurehead. Their own documents call her a formidable military leader. They sent their best troops to stop her. Because Gabriela Silang wasn't just brave, she was tactically competent. To understand Gabriela Silang, you need to understand the world she inherited in 1763. Her husband, Diego Silang, had been leading a revolutionary movement in Ilocos for months. He'd captured the provincial capital of Vigan. He'd established an independent government. He'd organized a functioning army with organized units, supply lines, and coordinated operations against Spanish forces. And Gabriela had been part of it from the beginning. Spanish records indicate she was present during military planning sessions. She traveled with Diego's forces. She understood the strategic situation, the disposition of Spanish troops, and the political complexities of maintaining alliances with various Ilocano leaders. When Diego was assassinated on May 28, 1763, Gabriela already understood how the military organization worked. She knew the commanders. She knew the supply situation. She knew which towns supported the revolution and which were vulnerable to Spanish counterattack. The Spanish expected chaos. What they got was continuity. Within days of Diego's death, Gabriela had assumed command. Spanish documents make it clear she was making the decisions. She appointed her uncle, Nicolas Carino, as her second in command. But contemporary accounts describe her as the one giving orders, planning operations, and making strategic choices. She had roughly 2,000 fighters under her command. This wasn't a mob. Diego had organized them into units with designated leaders, specific roles, and coordinated tactics. Infantry units with bangkao spears and bolos, cavalry scouts who could move quickly to gather intelligence, archers who could harass Spanish columns. So she went on the offensive. Gabriela's first major operation after taking command was attacking the town of Vigan, which Spanish forces had retaken after Diego's death. Spanish accounts describe Gabriela's forces using coordinated assault tactics. Infantry advanced in organized formations, while archers provided covering fire from elevated positions. This required unit discipline and command coordination. Soldiers had to hold their positions, follow orders during the chaos of combat, and execute complex maneuvers under fire. The attack failed. Spanish artillery and defensive positions were too strong. But the fact that Gabriela could organize and execute a coordinated assault on a fortified town just days after taking command demonstrates her tactical capability. After Vigan, Gabriela shifted tactics. Instead of attacking fortified Spanish positions head-on, she focused on mobility and harassment. Her forces would strike Spanish supply columns, ambush small garrisons, and withdraw before Spanish reinforcements could respond. This is guerrilla warfare doctrine. Attack where the enemy is weak, avoid where they're strong, maintain initiative through speed and unpredictability. Her forces ambushed a Spanish supply convoy heading to Vigan, capturing weapons and provisions. They raided towns that had collaborated with the Spanish. They burned Spanish outposts in the countryside, forcing Spain to concentrate forces in a few defendable locations. Spanish colonial reports from this period describe Gabriela as directing operations with considerable military acumen. One of Gabriela's most sophisticated moves was her use of intelligence networks. She maintained informants in Spanish-controlled towns who could report troop movements, supply situations, and planned operations. This gave her advance warning of Spanish counterattacks and allowed her to position forces advantageously. Intelligence gathering requires trusted agents, communication systems to relay information quickly, and command staff who can analyze intelligence and make decisions based on it. By September 1763, Spanish reinforcements were arriving from Manila. The colonial government sent veteran troops with artillery and cavalry support. Gabriela faced an impossible strategic situation. Her forces were outnumbered, outgunned, and running low on supplies. In September 1763, Gabriela's forces were betrayed. Spanish collaborators who'd infiltrated her army revealed her location to colonial troops. On September 20th, Spanish forces launched a coordinated assault on her position. Gabriela was captured along with several of her commanders. 4 days later, on September 24th, 1763, she was publicly hanged in Vigan's town plaza. She was 32 years old. She'd commanded an army for 4 months. The Spanish could have treated her as a footnote, Diego's widow who briefly tried to continue his rebellion. Instead, their own documents acknowledge her as a serious military threat. They deployed significant resources to stop her. They described her tactical decisions with respect. They recognized her command capability. This wasn't because Spanish colonial officials were progressive about gender. This was because Gabriela had demonstrated actual military competence, and they couldn't deny it. Her 4 months of command proved something critical. She hadn't been Diego's mascot. She'd understood the military and political situation well enough to take over and continue organized resistance against a colonial power with superior resources. She had to maintain discipline among troops who might have questioned a female commander. She had to make tactical decisions in real time during combat operations. She had to manage logistics, intelligence, and political alliances simultaneously. The Spanish executed her publicly because they understood something important. Gabriela Silang was dangerous not because she was Diego's widow, but because she was competent. This wasn't primitive warriors getting lucky. This was sophisticated military thinking, tactical execution, and strategic planning. This was a 32-year-old woman taking command of an army and making Spanish colonial authorities deploy their best troops to stop her. That's not just courage, that's competence. And that's why Gabriela Silang deserves her place among the greatest Filipino military leaders in history.